I would be very curious to know if you would be willing, or if there's even perhaps even a thought of if you would want to do another wrestling related film in the future, whether you'd be open to that, whether there's a person that you're like, you know what, that might be interesting too. Or did you just peek at Bret Hart and you're like, I don't know if I could do another one?
No, I was actually interested in doing another, and we talked about doing a few more after this. In fact, I don't think it matters that we talk about this stuff now because it was so
Hmm.
long ago, but they had some changes internally, and they went through the whole again, I don't know the specific nuts and bolts, but when they got purchased by the Ari
Oh,
Emanuel group, when that
TKO,
whole
TKO, yeah.
yeah, when that whole thing came about, I guess there was a philosophical change that somebody there said, well, do we really need to continue to hire these outside guys when we have all these people here looking for things to do or whatever it might be? So I had gotten started on Eddie Guerrero, who I mean, I loved Eddie Guerrero's story,
Wow, yeah.
and Mark Henry as well. So I had two projects up and going after this.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, some of the specific details are a little foggy now, but um, it all kind of crashed and burned for a short period of time. Nothing ever happened with it. I went out and actually did a couple shoots for Eddie Guerrero. I was in El
Oh
Paso for
wow.
a couple weeks and had talked to his family a lot. And I don't know, one thing led to another, and I think they ended up doing those biographies. You would probably know better than me.
They do, yeah, they definitely did the Eddie one. I can't. They might have done Mark Henry as well. I can't actually remember. I might have
Yeah,
to double
so
check
they
that.
probably maybe I'll go back and look at the Eddie Guerrero thing because when we dissolved my relationship with them, I had to sign a couple things that marked the official ending of our relationship, and it was all
Hmm.
amicable, but to
Yeah.
just have a different, things like this in this world, that's the way they happen. New people come
Yeah.
along,
Yeah.
want to
Yeah. Yeah.
they want to do things a different way. They want to either save money or why are we hiring these people when we have all these other people who can, which I get.
Yeah.
But they had taken
You're familiar with the business, aren't you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And they had taken a lot of the material that I had shot because they technically owned it.
Mhm.
And I would assume that they used it in the Eddie Guerrero story.
Yeah. Actually, now
But
having
his
said,
his his story is amazing.
oh yeah, no, Eddie's was, and to be fair, I would have loved to have seen kind of your full take on that because, and now having said that, actually, I actually did interview another director, who did a couple of other of the A&E bios, and a similar thing happened. I think they did a Paul Heyman one, and I think he did some footage, but I think so some of that footage was used, but he was no longer kind of like leading the charge. It wasn't like his
Mhm.
vision of the film.
Yeah, yeah.
But I will say, as a fan, and of seeing these over the years of the seasons, there is a noticeable difference, and in terms of not in a good way, the difference shift from the external and kind of these kind of fresh perspectives and how you guys kind of tackled these films to the kind of more, I don't want to say recycled, but the more in-house, shorter kind of, I guess you could say a little bit more run-of-the-mill kind of takes on these stories. There is definitely a difference. So I think, to you guys' credit, I think you guys set a bar that has yet not been matched, should I say.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I think most of the reason is that that's sort of what we do. Like when I jump into something like this, it's a 24/7 thing for as long as it takes. And so I live and I eat and I breathe the actual film. Whereas if there was a committee of folks who were doing other things, this one has got to go on the live show a couple days a week, or this one is doing this, or that one's doing that. And while we have time, we're out and about, we can pick up a couple interviews. Like if it becomes something that three or four people do on the side,
Yeah.
ultimately it'll show. Not that maybe someone who's not as sophisticated as yourself, or someone who maybe is watching these things without the benefit of seeing some of the other things that are done
Hmm.
wouldn't think it's perfectly fine because it probably is.
Yeah.
But I
Still, no,
think
still some good ones, but you can tell,
yeah,
I guess certainly, at least for me, I could tell the difference.
yeah.
But yeah, no, the standard was set high, and yeah, you could be proud of the fact that you set that standard,
Oh,
with the Bret Hart one.